John Davis, true crime official member of the Don Wells Book Club. I was at the Don Wells Book Club. I watched it. Don did him a live stream, and it was on. The title of that live stream was "What Our Church Teaches." So I was intrigued. I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. It's an hour long, and if you look at people's live streams, an hour, not that bad. So it begins. Don, grumpy old man, amazed at this technology. I don't know if y'all can hear me. I don't know if y'all can see me. Is this on? Is this thing working? Is this thing on? Is this thing working? What's going on with all this technology? Don's touching buttons and he switches the camera so it shows his ashtray and stuff. He switches back around. He's like, anyways, Don tells us, I'm going to read a book, okay? I thought we'd be, okay. And it's a book by some guy, and it's basically SDA end of the world propaganda, in my opinion. I watched it. Don is an excellent reader. I'll give him that. I was worried. I thought when he was like, I'm going to read a book, it was going to be like, all right, here we go, y'all. No, Don is a good reader. Excellent reader. Supreme reader. Don will lose his spot here and there, though. He'll say, sorry. He'll pick it back up. Don, I really feel like he's holding a book in one hand and like filming this in the other, because it's like the camera, you can tell it's not mounted and it's a little shaky and stuff. So, if you don't know how to do stuff, you can get on YouTube, Don, and just Google, or get on Google that shit. Be like, how to film my very first live solo and know if the audience can see me. Ask Google, it'll teach you anything. That's how I learned to do a lot of stuff I don't know how to do. He makes like a connection of the Revolutionary War and that God was looking out for the patriots. I'll tell you what, it came close to taking an L in the Revolutionary War, so I feel like there's a good chance of that too. I've heard Washington had a miracle and all kinds of stuff. I don't rule that out. Confirmed. Don once again fears nobody can hear him. Y'all hear me? Mic check. Y'all got your ears on? Am I the only one here? I have to say I felt kind of bad for him. He was struggling as a host. I'm getting the idea of why he goes on panels more. Don reads some prophecy stuff about Revelations. Anybody that's been in church before knows Revelations. That's the end times. So this book he's reading, a lot of this is about Revelations and the end times and how government's going to come into it, and it's really like gloom and doom type stuff. And this is titled What Our Church Teaches. Now Don, he's like trying to straighten something out, and he's like, okay, I got it. He flips the camera for some reason. So now the words are like this, up, going the wrong way across the screen. He's like, okay, got it. And goes back to reading. I'm like, no, Don, you just screwed the camera up. It was right, now it's wrong. This is basically an SDA recruitment video, is what it kind of has an overfeel of. Don's showing pictures in the book. There's pictures in the book. It's illustrated. And there's this one. This thing's creepy as shit. Now, he's reading this book, and he always, like, when he goes to the Catholic part, he'll reinforce that. Now, this is the Catholic belief. Don admits he doesn't like some of the Catholic belief. Don moves around, he adjusts and stuff, and boom, camera, right back to being sideways again. Don says, overall bad memory, I can't remember a lot of things. Now Don's reading this book word for word, and I'm telling you right now, you do that and record it and put it out, you can get struck for that. That's copyright. I'm just saying, I'm not going to rat you out, but I've heard it's happened before. Don adjusts the camera again, and I'm like, is that? And there's papers. Then I thought, oh, well, he might be rolling his own cigarettes, but there's 2 packs of cigarettes with the papers. So, once again, I know you're on probation. You probably shouldn't be smoking. I'm not going to write you out. I'm just saying. Part in this book we're into now, it's really into the Antichrist, talking about the Antichrist, who it's going to be, how it's going to work out, where it's coming from. Don says, I'm going to try to read a few more pages. We're going to have to split this up. This book, it's too big. I can't do this all in one live stream. Don's reading, and then he just stops, and he's like, I'm not sure. Are y'all still there? They're nowhere, Don. What made you think that? Don's reading again. He's got the camera on the book, and it's looking all right, And then he doesn't realize, I guess, he kind of drops the book down, and it's like the camera is just sitting there with the rolling papers dead center of the screen. I'm like, wow, Don. People's going to talk. Now Don's into Revelations again. We're talking about the end of times. This book is really, it's weird to me. It feels like it's really gloom and doom, and to title this What My Church Teaches makes it feel almost cultish, in my opinion. Go back to the Constitution and all this, the Declaration of Independence. It starts getting all history lesson feeling-ish. Don earlier had said, my memory sucks. And then he's like, Pope was kidnapped in 78, I believe it was. Yeah, 78. Damn, but that really stuck out then, didn't it? The Pope's kidnapping really stuck out to you for you to have remembered that above all this other stuff you seem to be having trouble with. That's kind of odd. Don says, I'm getting confused here. And he starts filming his leg. Don's sitting here live streaming in his boxers. I get the feeling. That's when you just turn the camera off, Don. Somebody got to help you out with your production. Then Don reads for a minute. Then it freezes up. Something happens with the camera, and Don comes back, and he seems shook up by all this. Like, the tech's starting to get to him now. Don talks about the USA one day will impose a death sentence on anybody that doesn't accept the mark of the beast, which that's part of Revelations. I've heard that before. Don signs off as predicted. Yeah, he confirms, shows himself, flips back to him, and he's topless with his glasses on and his headphones. Then Don finally says, I'm going to say a prayer. Here it goes. And at this point, I was like, I'm not even going to do this video because, basically all he did was show us that he really into his religion, But then after this prayer, I was just blown away. The whole live stream, Summer's never been mentioned or nothing in that. And then the prayer makes it super weird at the end. And he's done this before when he's talking about his children. He says something, and he says, I pray for Summer Wells and my boys. And I know some psychologists hearing that has got to tell them something. The reasoning of him separating them and, not my kids, my girls and boys, him saying Summer Wells and my boys. That was so odd at the very end. And he also mentions CPS and the size of the company in this prayer. And I thought that just seems so manipulative to push this theory in prayer. I don't know. That's what I thought. You guys tell me what you think. Comment below.